They're more trouble than they're worth.
Right.
Why?
So will there be headgear?
According to the producer, Johnny Ryan Rock, according to the contract, there's not to be headgear.
What?
Hi, this is Joe Cortez. You're watching ShowBizz, The Adult.
Oh, this is Bernard Hopkins, ShowBizz, The Adult. I'm out. And so do I. Tyson and Roy Jones. I can't do it. I can't do it. What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz Adult. Alright, man, look. So let's do a breakdown on how Iron Mike Tyson can defeat Roy Jones and how Roy Jones Jr. can defeat Iron Mike Tyson. Whoops! Alright, man, look. Let's get to the video. First, I want to say this. I will, later on in this video, I will be interviewing Billy White. If you guys don't know who Billy White is, he's the current trainer of Iron Mike Tyson, preparing him for his comeback fight against Roy Jones Jr. Now, Billy White, he goes back with Iron Mike Tyson, back to the Custom Model days, back to the Kevin Rooney days, the Catskill days. Him and Iron Mike Tyson go way back. And I know a lot of you were asking if Iron Mike Tyson's going to bring some of his old team or people who knew him back in his prime for this comeback. And yes, Billy White is one of those guys. So we will be interviewing Billy White later on in this video. So let's get to the breakdown. Iron Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. And this is how I feel about it. Look, many people, when they look at this matchup, okay, and I know both of these guys are over the hill, but both of these guys are over the hill together. So when you look at this matchup, Iron Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr., many people are just wondering how would Roy Jones Jr. beat Iron Mike Tyson. Not too many people thinking of how, will Iron Mike Tyson defeat Roy Jones Jr. You kind of feel like Iron Mike Tyson has the upper hand. Well, after this video, we're going to break down a few things and just see how much of an upper hand does Iron Mike Tyson have, and does Roy Jones Jr. have any chance at all? I think he does. Let's break down Roy Jones Jr. and Iron Mike Tyson. To defeat Iron Mike Tyson, when we look at his career, you definitely have to be a bigger guy. You got to be a guy who can put the weight on Iron Mike Tyson. If you look at the times he lost, okay, you look at him and Lennox Lewis, you look at him and Buster Douglas, you look at him and McBride and Daniel Williams and all those boys. Those boys were pretty much bigger than him, except for Evander the Real Deal Holyfield. Now, there's a few things that I know we're going to add to this whole thing. Iron Mike Tyson being on booger sugar against Buster Douglas. He really didn't train for that fight. Iron Mike Tyson being over the hill against the likes of Danny Williams, the likes of McBride, the likes of even Lennox Lewis. It didn't look like he prepared much for that fight, and that wasn't a prime Iron Mike Tyson. But when you look at Evander the Real Deal Holyfield, he was, in my opinion, further over the hill than Iron Mike Tyson when they fought each other. But nonetheless, Evander the Real Deal Holyfield was victorious. What he did was he took the fight to Iron Mike Tyson. Many people felt that he used his head as a weapon, including Iron Mike Tyson. But if you listen to Don Turner, he said this one thing. Iron Mike Tyson, he kept dipping to one side. We got to take that away from him.
See, Mike always lean this way, and Holyfield wouldn't allow him to lean that way because he was always going there.
When they studied Iron Mike Tyson, he loves to dip to one side. Holyfield, he met him on that side, so he had Iron Mike Tyson standing straight up. Needless to say, he took the fight to Iron Mike Tyson. He always won the shoving match, the battle of strength. He pushed Iron Mike Tyson back a lot that fight. And those are the things that I don't think Roy Jones Jr. will be able to do. Roy Jones Jr. is going to have to be able to get away from Iron Mike Tyson, and he's going to have to be able to pop shot him and shoot the jab and keep at a comfortable range. And I can't think of any fighter that Iron Mike Tyson fought that was able to do that and be victorious. You look at James Quick Tillis, he did that okay. You look at Tyrell Biggs, he was pretty good on his toes. You even look at Mitch Green, he kind of danced around a bit. But those guys weren't able to run away from Iron Mike Tyson long enough. Iron Mike Tyson was victorious. I know James Quick Tillis took him the distance, but not without kissing the canvas that fight. So can Roy Jones do that? Well, I don't think he can do it alone. He can do it, though, with the help of the referee. Let's look at Roy Jones Jr. versus John Ruiz in their fight. Now, John Ruiz, he did not have the speed advantage when it came to him taking on Roy Jones Jr. He didn't have the skill advantage either. But what he had was size, strength, and power advantage. And what he would need to do is make sure Roy Jones Jr. isn't in the center of the ring. And this is what John Ruiz is trying to implement here. He jabbed him into the corner and he started to work on him. Let me start pushing on him. This is the first round. But Jay Nady, he broke it up quick. He didn't let John Ruiz work. And now they're back in the center of the ring. And Roy Jones Jr. is able to be comfortable and do what he has to do. Once again, John Ruiz has him against the ropes. Jay Nady, he broke it up extremely quick. So Roy Jones Jr. has to keep this fight against Iron Mike Tyson. He has to keep this fight in the center of the ring. And I don't think he could do it on his own. He wasn't able to do it on his own against John Ruiz. John Ruiz got him on the ropes multiple times. But Jay Nady did not allow John Ruiz to work. Maybe Jay Nady was worried about Roy Jones Jr. being a smaller man and he was just overly cautious and he was breaking it up too soon. No fair to John Ruiz, he wasn't able to work. And if for this exhibition bout between Iron Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., if they have a referee that is concerned, looking at Roy Jones Jr., you saw that he's been knocked out multiple times, thinking that he cannot take a beating from Iron Mike Tyson. You look at how aggressive Iron Mike Tyson is, how much bigger he is, and how he's been looking and training. Maybe the ref can be overly cautious. And once Iron Mike Tyson is in a position where he can really do some work, maybe the referee helps out. Roy Jones Jr. breaks it up. Roy Jones is able to spin behind the referee to create that space and get back in the center of the ring. Now, while Roy Jones Jr. is in the center of the ring, he can do what he do. Throw the lead right hand, shoot the jab every so often, kind of circle Iron Mike Tyson, and make sure that he lands a left hook to the floating rib of Iron Mike Tyson. He's going to have to do that. Maybe hit him borderline, what I'm talking about, right on the belt line of Iron Mike Tyson, because many people are questioning the stamina of Iron Mike Tyson leading into this fight. So Roy Jones Jr. is going to have to make sure he has a hook to that body every so often. Maybe hit him enough times to make Iron Mike Tyson wince, but he has to stay dedicated to the body and make sure that this fight goes the distance. And really, it doesn't have to go the whole entire 8 rounds before Roy Jones Jr. can start turning the heat up on Iron Mike Tyson, maybe even hurting Iron Mike Tyson. So what he'll have to do, keep the fight in the center of the ring, maybe get some help from the referee, make sure he lands some hooks to the body every so often, that lead right hand, keep his distance, and maybe, just maybe, he can drag this fight out into the deep waters and drown Iron Mike Tyson. Now, what can Iron Mike Tyson do to defeat Roy Jones Jr.? Well, he can do a few things. This is one thing he doesn't have to worry about, Roy Jones Jr. being a bigger man. If you look at Iron Mike Tyson's last fight against McBride was leaning on him a lot, using his size. Let's look at it now. Now, look at the size difference between McBride and Iron Mike Tyson. Iron Mike Tyson was never seen as a big heavyweight, though he was a big, intimidating man in that ring. But look at how McBride holds Iron Mike Tyson, pushes him back. These are the type of things that's just a nightmare for an aging Iron Mike Tyson. Roy Jones, on the other hand, he's not going to do that. Let's look at Roy Jones in this last fight. Now, look at how Scott is just baiting Roy Jones, pushing him into the corner without actually being busy. Roy Jones is going exactly where he wants him to be. And now he's able to do some work here. And Roy Jones is holding, but he's not that strong in the clinch. Look at him. Scott is just getting busy on Roy. And look at how Roy Jones fails to block to the head. He just turns his head and he gives him the soft spot of his head behind his ear. Iron Mike Tyson can do a lot of damage and a lot of work here. I think Iron Mike Tyson's approach to beating Roy Jones Jr. would be a seek and destroy approach. I think he guides Roy Jones Jr. against the ropes, and I think he opens up like a son of a gun, throwing shots to the body and shots to the head, and Roy Jones not being able to clinch with a strong clinch. Roy Jones turning his head, giving Iron Mike Tyson the soft spot of his head when Iron Mike Tyson goes upstairs with hooks. I think all of those things going to benefit Iron Mike Tyson. But let's see what Billy White, the trainer of Iron Mike Tyson, says. I'm looking forward to hearing what Billy has to say in this interview.
What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz the Adult here
with Billy White. If you guys don't know who Billy White is, he is the trainer for Iron Mike Tyson for his comeback. Billy White, how you doing, brother?
Yes, sir. ShowBizz, how are you, my man? You're the best.
No, you're the best. Thank you very much for showing up to our platform. I know my community definitely appreciates you.
Please, honor and pleasure.
So I want to start off by saying this. I showed up to Tyson's ranch and I met you, a great guy. We hit it off. You're my brother. You're my friend. I can say that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man.
And then Iron Mike Tyson walks through. He looks serious. You guys get to business. He's not someone who I feel I can really chum it up with at this point because he's about work. He gets to work, and as he's getting to work, he's asking you about every little thing. How's my head moving? Do I keep my opposite punch? Do I keep the guard up high enough while I was punching with my other hand? All these things, the respect he has for you. I just want to know how far you guys go back and where did that respect come from?
Well, we were talking, I don't know, about a month or so ago. Peter Lee Thomas, Holly Berry's trainer, was in the gym with Aaron, UFC coach. After a workout, we're just hanging out on the couch, shooting the sugar. Peter had asked him, I had walked away to go get us a drink and came back, and he looked up and said, 1980, right? And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, when we met, because Peter had just asked him. And he goes, yeah, it was 1980. I said, I was there at the first workout. I only know that because I can see myself in the video in the background. You don't remember, hey, man, that's 40 years ago, All thanks to Custom Camille, that we're here today. We just said that in the gym yesterday as I'm putting Mike's gloves on. I don't know, somebody had said something, and I said, hey, it's all thanks to Custom Camille we're here.
So that's the impact of the late and great Custom Motto. He has that impact on you. I've seen Iron Mike Tyson get choked up just speaking his name. Can you talk a little bit about that impact that Custom Motto had on you, Iron Mike Tyson, anybody who was just in his, in his way? He was like a tornado, hurricane guy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm the same. It's very difficult to speak, without,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, getting choked up. Life is different. What he taught on the east side, on the third floor above the Catskill Police Station, they didn't teach at Catskill High School. Yeah, the questions he asked, do you think you can do that? He points into the ring. We're sitting in front of the ring and two guys are doing the moves. And the moves include one guy throwing jabs and the other guy moving his head. So Gus says this in the very first minute, ShowBizz. He says, he takes away our fear in 1 minute. No boxing coach has the genius to do this. He takes away our fear because.
Let's go. Oh, yeah.
I was just asked the question, do you think you could do that? And I'm looking, I see two guys doing what he says. He says this. He goes, boxing is fun when you make them miss and you make them pay. When you make them miss, when you're doing the hitting and you're not getting hit. Everybody, every kid fears getting hit. Every kid fears getting in a fight. You have to channel that, and he taught us to do that. He taught us that minute one.
So
I don't know.
So wait. So is it that relationship you share with Custom Motto that Mike also shares with Custom Motto is why he's able to look at you next to him while he's hitting the punching bag, while he's training, doing those things, and say, hey, look, man, real recognize real. He looks familiar. He understands where I come from. And this is why I'm asking him every little thing, because he's been spoken to by Cuss the way I've been spoken to by Cuss.
Right. He says we come from the same cloth. We're brothers from another mother, Camille, Cuss's lady, wife. We're brothers from another father, Cuss. And, I was there 4 years before Mike even showed up. And with that, so I know a little bit. I know the style. And because of it, Mike understands that. And, hey, look, man, don't think it ever gets lost on me. He could have called a million guys.
So let me ask you this. And talking about, just present day, how is Iron Mike Tyson looking now? I mean, that's what everybody wants to know. How is he looking in preparation for September 12th fighting Roy Jones Jr.?
Well, I joke and say he looks like $1 million today, but that's an insult because he made 30 million for fights. You know what I mean?
Let's go. Let's go. Hold on. Tyson Bale. I'm bringing the Tyson Bale on that one. So yeah, he's looking
joking,
good.
but I'm just trying to explain to you, there is no athlete. He's a world-class athlete, okay? And he never got recognition for this. I wish I had the picture in front of me right now. I'll have to show it next time you come to the gym. It's a picture of Mike in the hallway at a hospital with kids. And the media never showed that, okay?
Yeah.
They created a monster. And hey, look, man, we all make mistakes, but past actions don't judge our character. They shouldn't.
That's right.
Cuss always said that. That side of Mike, he's a beautiful soul, man. He's so highly intelligent. There's genius in his family. Cuss had us read The Art of War, Henry David Thoreau, Tolstoy. I mean, again, a lot of those, they don't get taught in Catskill High School. Speaking of which, I don't know, recently Mike had said, yeah, Billy, we got to go back, man. We got to talk to the kids.
Wow. That's the type of guy Mike Tyson is.
Yes,
and they don't
exactly.
show that. They do not show that. I have a question for you in regards to how he is now, and that's a good segue to how he is now compared to how he was in his prime. And I didn't mean not to
answer that, but let me answer that. Again, world-class athlete. He's a world-class runner. Okay, Sunday was his day off. I'll give you a great for instance. He ran 8 miles on Sunday on his day off.
Did he?
8 miles.
Did he?
The next morning, 4 more. The morning before that, 4 more. So it's like you said the other day, this is the hard work, and sparring's about to begin, and that's another stage, and the next step in the commitment to in the preparation phase. He started way left negative.
Right.
In the regard, I mean physically.
Right.
Over 300 pounds.
Right.
Okay, in that area, and he grew to this, and then he grew to where he is today, and where he is it boggles my mind because I was there in the 80s. So I saw him train then. I see him train now. So I have a little knowledge of it, and I'm.
You're tying those things together. You're tying those things.
It boggles my mind of how hard he works.
Now that interests
no
me. Heavyweight
in their 20s and 30s are doing it.
Let's go. Hold on. Now that's a good segue to comparing him where he is now to where he was like in his prime. When I think of George Foreman, another all-time great heavyweight, George Foreman had 2 careers. He had the older George, had the younger George. There's many people that even think that the older George was a better fighter than the younger George because the younger George was throwing winging shots. The older George was shortening up his punches. The younger George had stamina issues. You saw him against Ali. You saw him against Ron Lyle. They went back and forth, and you saw him against George Chuvalo. Many people felt that fight was even stopped prematurely. He was tiring himself out on George Chuvalo's chin. Yeah. So when it comes to Iron Mike Tyson and this new venture, how does he compare now when you look at him to his younger self, his more prime self?
Well, it's funny you say that. Cuss always said, I can see in spurts, you're doing it perfect. And it grows to where come fight night, it will all fall into place. You know what I mean? But that said, yeah, you work towards it. Each day is Cuss had a philosophy, a mantra, mind you, when he was a boy growing up in the Bronx. There was a saying by a French psychologist, Emile Coué, had a statement that says, day by day in every way, getting better and better. Cuss gave that to us. It was a confidence builder for him as a kid and his generation. It was a very popular saying back in the 20s and 30s. He handed that to us, along with the poem, Don't Quit. I don't know if you know the poem, but I was going to joke with you. Andre and I yesterday were joking. I said, hey, Andre, I got to tell you, I turned that poem into a rap a couple years back.
I've heard your bars. I've heard your bars. But yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's just funny, you know. It's a beautiful poem. How day by day in every way you're getting better and better is Cuss's mantra. But the poem of "Don't Quit" is how when the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile and you have to sigh. I'm not singing it, I'm saying it. You know, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not quit. And that's my point here. Cuss and Kobe's Mamba mentality. It's all coming together. Cuss referred to us in training as animal behavior in the regard where he would compare us to pit bulls, tigers. Man, you look like a tiger today. So we're like, cool. So you adopt that, become one with the tiger, Bruce Lee says. And then you take that philosophy and you roll with it. And I don't know, we just decided that we're going to make it the Mamba.
Wow.
What better honor to Kobe?
Yeah.
Mike and I were talking recently about how the Mamba, if you can see my hand, the Mamba moves its head to avoid strikes. That's what Mike does to move his head.
Yeah.
Okay. Right?
That's right.
What's the Mamba do? He strikes with precision, speed, and power. And that's what Mike does. So it's perfect. It's perfect honor to Kobe. It's Cuss and Kobe coming together, their philosophies as one. It's
Cuss and Kobe. Cuss and Kobe. You're giving me chills right now.
and Mike and the Mamba, and it's all honor to Kobe, you know, and Gigi and all of Coach, everyone that we lost.
Man, there is a lot of heart. There's a lot of heart, legacy, and spirit that's going into this training camp. I do want to go back to something that you said about Iron Mike Tyson running 8 miles. There's a lot of people that I hear through the grapevine worried about Iron Mike Tyson's stamina, saying if Roy Jones Jr. can last past 4 rounds, he probably can get Iron Mike Tyson. What say you about Iron Mike Tyson's stamina? And, you know, is that something that you are worried about is going into this fight?
Absolutely not. Not worried in the regard where Mike is a cold-blooded assassin, okay? Yes. He is a machine. He's a machine in the ring, and he will be there. Look, bottom line is, again, Cuss used the analogy of fire and fear, and never underestimate fear, okay? Never underestimate fear. And because of that, the bottom line is, you take the fire, you control it, it works for you. He's got a new spirit within. He's got that new fighting spirit, and again, it's boggled my mind. Okay, so that's the least of my concerns. Again, if he's got to go 15 rounds, he'll go 15 rounds.
Let's go! I can't. This is too much. This is amazing for the community. This is amazing. Now, hold on. There's also people who are not really sold on the fight. They're talking as if, remember the computer fight with Muhammad Ali versus Rocky Marciano?
Absolutely.
Now, people they probably do not, recall that computer fight. But I'm saying the way they're speaking, they wonder if it's a real fight. When they hear the word exhibition, they think, oh, this is not going to be real. Please let people know how real this fight is. And
I'm going to give you an example with my own self in an exhibition on it with a teammate. Okay, he was 20 pounds heavier than me, and we had to go in and put an exhibition on because we didn't have opponents that night at Catskill High School, of all places. Again, go Cats. Bottom line, he came out. I'm not going to say names, but he came out and he tried to take my head off. Exhibition. Exhibition. That's the term.
Right.
When he did that, I threw a body shot and I caught him right in the solar plexus. And world champions are hit there. They can't go anymore. Oscar De La Hoya against Bernard Hopkins, if you recall.
I do recall.
Bernard Hopkins hit him with one body shot in the solars. De La Hoya's down on all fours.
And he was beating on the canvas so mad that he couldn't even get up.
Yeah, but before that, for 20 seconds he's on the canvas. You only got 10.
Right.
When he could finally breathe is when he banged on the canvas.
Yeah.
He couldn't breathe before that.
Yeah,
and that's why he couldn't get up.
Right.
So the bottom line is my opponent couldn't get up. He got up, but the referee stopped it. exhibition. But he was trying to take my head off, so I did what I had to do.
That's right.
Come what may.
Right.
Come what may.
Okay, so how about this? I'm not sure if this is even a fact yet, and maybe you can help bring some clarity to this. Headgear. Would there be headgear? Because I know Roy Jones Jr. actually said that he doesn't want the headgear because Iron Mike Tyson, he hits extremely hard, and he thinks the headgear makes for a bigger target. So he's like, if we could not have headgear for that. But there are people that think, well, you know, for the safety of the fighters. What say you about the headgear? Will there be any headgear for this exhibition?
Well, the bottom line is, Cuss actually, we never used headgear. I can't say never, but very seldom. Amateur fights, you had to use them, and we were not used to them. He said they provide a false sense of security, which they did. We get in the ring with them in the fights, and they're in your eyes, they're loose. So yeah, they're more trouble than they're worth.
Right.
Why?
So will there be headgear?
According to the producer, Johnny Ryan Rock, mind you, here's a shout out to Johnny. What a phenomenal job he's doing. Rob Rob Hickman at Tyson Ranch, CEO.
Shout out to Rob.
Kiki, Mr. and Mrs. Ali. What a nucleus at Tyson Ranch. And according to the contract, there's not to be headgear.
What? that is
telling you what I was told.
There's no headgear.
So what do you ring the bell, man?
You're right. You're right. You're right. My bad. I'm slipping.
I'm joking, man. I'm
no,
joking.
wait a minute. Can you say this one more again? There's no headgear.
That's correct. No headgear.
No headgear.
That's according to the contract, as I've been informed.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's move right along. As far as the matchup itself, there's a lot of people. I did a little segment before this, just breaking down the fight. Roy Jones' chances of beating Tyson. Tyson chances of beating Roy Jones Jr. How much of a chance do you give Roy Jones? Okay, because we know Iron Mike Tyson, the way he's looking, he has a chance. Roy Jones Jr., not a lot of people giving him a chance. How much of a danger is Roy Jones fighting Iron Mike Tyson for Iron Mike Tyson?
Absolutely. Roy Jones is very dangerous. He's a very dangerous fighter. I wanted someone different who was going to be more so of a standstill human punching bag. Roy presents, let's face it, pound for pound, one of the all-time greatest.
Yeah.
I'm not, look, for the promos, they have to say what they have to say. That's super cool. I understand the buildup. I'm just explaining to you, I study a lot of Chinese philosophy, and those who talk don't know. Those who know don't talk. And again, all kudos to Roy. He's a phenomenal champion, one of the all-time best.
And he's a danger. Now,
absolutely, every second, because he moves and he is he's going to run like a thief.
Yeah.
That's just a boxing term.
Right.
And because of that, you got to hunt him down, chase him down, and cut off the ring, and go to work. And nobody does that better than Iron Mike.
I'm excited. I got butterflies in my stomach already for the fight. To hear you talk about it, knowing that you're from, knowing Mike from the beginning. Speaking of which, where's Kevin Rooney?
Catskill, New York, baby.
Yeah, where's Kevin? Where's Kevin Rooney?
Kevin's at home resting peacefully with his family, and
he's not going to be a part of the camp or anything.
Well, shout out to Kev. We wouldn't be here without Kev.
That's right. Okay, so moving forward,
and Kevin Rooney Jr. Here's to you, Kev. KC is last I heard he's working with Mr. Heyman. And
really?
Yeah, I'm so excited for him. He built his way up, and he knows boxing. He's like Bo Jackson.
Nice. Right. Now, let me ask you this, and then I'll wrap it up with one last question. After Roy Jones Jr. and this fight with Iron Mike Tyson, is Iron Mike going to be going forward with another fight, and is this just the beginning for Iron Mike Tyson, or is this a one fight stop?
No, there's going to be a few more, but the fact of the matter is we take one at a time, and we're not looking past Roy Jones. End of story.
Absolutely. That sounds great.
But I want to say this to you. again, in reference to the Kobe Mamba mentality and Cuss's philosophy, same powerful message, a little different wording. Cuss is day by day in every way getting better and better. Kobe is be a better version of yourself today. Different words, same powerful message. And yeah, all honor to Kobe. Here's Mike. He can walk off into the sunset, okay, into the happily ever after. And he's igniting, to me, the entire country on fight night will be able to come together as one. Talk about Kobe and Cuss coming together at one, Mike and the Mamba becoming one. It's unheard of. Mike works his rear end off. I don't think I made that you understand that enough. But nobody works harder than Mike. Nobody.
Right.
I'm just trying to say this is the best part of it all. Put it all aside. Again, he can go to live the happily ever after, whenever that happens, after this fight or whatever fight. The fact of the matter is, he's getting there. He's becoming a great father. Okay. From 40 years ago to today, to see that.
Yeah.
That's more priceless to me than any of this. You know? So.
Right.
I say more? You know?
Yeah. You know what? I love that. And I love that you drilled that to all the viewers instead of seeing Iron Mike Tyson as just this character, that he's not just a person, but a great person, a thoughtful person. Those are the type of things that has to be repeated. And I'm happy that you're here to say those things, to drill those points home, because Iron Mike Tyson is somebody that's inspirational, somebody to look up to. And I'm happy you're here. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you again before the fight and even after the fight. And I'm looking forward to showing up to the branch, man.
Absolutely.
This was a great interview.
He's rallying the country, man. Everybody can come together, get off the couch, get in shape. Come September 12th, they can be in shape. You know what I mean?
I'm about to go to the gym right now.
We got to get above and beyond COVID. You know what I mean? And we will, as a nation, as a world, man. And Mike is doing this to honor the homeless and the addicted, man. Not a penny in his pocket. How do you beat that?
Look,
that's what I'm saying. People have to get off the couch and go do that for themselves and become better, like Kobe's mentality says. Be a better version of yourself today, man. You know? Yes.
And get you a yellow shirt. Thanks for the interview, for showing up on the platform. My community definitely appreciate it. ShowBizz the Adult. Do you have anything else you want to say goodbye to everybody?
I want to say you're the best, man. Thank you, ShowBizz.
Thank you so much. I'm out.
Peace out.